Hey, what's happening, everybody? Tony here and Derek with Your Sustainable Future podcast.
What's happening?
We're glad to be back with you. It's been a little bit of time here, but today we're going to be talking about some pretty interesting things. We're going to kick it off with understanding your energy rates. Then we're going to jump into solar and some of the benefits of that and some of the federal tax credits and things like that, because we want you to fully understand everything from start to finish. And it all begins with the power that you're using in your house and the electricity bill and what the companies are charging you.
That's what the Your Sustainable Futures podcast is all about. It's information. It's knowledge for you, our listeners. We want to make sure you guys are informed. We want to make sure you guys have the knowledge, the wherewithal to make informed decisions. And then you can help your friends and family out. So you can pass this information down. You can share the episode with them. Make sure they log in, check us out, download our podcast off iTunes or iHeartRadio or wherever you're tuning in right now. We want to make sure you're informed. Your Sustainable Future podcast is here to inform you, to educate you, to give you that peace of mind that you know as a consumer you're going out and making a good informed decision. So we don't ever want you to be caught with your pants down.
That's right, because it's a jungle out there, and we're going to teach you how to navigate through it.
Got to navigate that jungle.
So let's talk about these energy rates. So as you probably know,
big energy coming after us again. Here they come.
They just never stop. We've been hearing all kinds of rumors about the surrounding states like Nevada and Arizona. They're getting these surcharges. Well, it's coming to California too, so now is the time to do solar. And here's what they did. They met late in 2013, and they passed a law called Assembly Bill 327. And basically what that is
it's probably got a book like this big on it, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely. What that is it's actually changing the way that they tiered our structures. Right now, back in 2013, it was a 4-tier structure. By 2016, it had to go down to 3. And then now into 2017, it just changed again. We now have a 2-tier structure, and they raised the rates. And there's something called a Superuser.
Man, why do they make it like it's another language? Like, I mean, it's hard enough to just understand why they're charging us and when they're charging us.
Yeah.
But then you try to read your bill. I mean, I don't know if you out there listening right now, do you have any, could you read your electric bill, whatever your power company is? I know you guys are tuning in from all over the world, all over the United States, all over the different parts of the country. We know that your particular electric companies are all different. But here down in San Diego, we have a company that's called SDG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric.
That's right.
And I'll tell you what, they might as well write the damn bill in hieroglyphics.
Yeah, it's just crazy trying to read it. It's like trying to read Greek or something like that.
Right.
So one of the things that they did is they passed this bill. And the California Public Utilities Commission, they met and said, hey, by 2019, everything has to be completely changed over. So like I said, we now have what we call super user charges. And then And then in 2 years, in 2019, we're going to have time of use charges.
Oh, that one's going to hurt.
That one's going to hurt. Because right now, that's how they build commercial proproperties. They have this time of use. And if you're in the peak hours and you use a certain amount of electricity, they stop charging you by the kilowatt hour. What they do is they start charging you every 15 minutes. They look at it. And if your spike is up, they're charging you $15 or $20 a watt for that. It's ridiculous. That's why these commercial people have like $3,000 and $4,000 bills, and they should only have about a $1,200 bill.
Yeah, isn't that ridiculous too? Because think of who that's going to affect, you guys. If you're out there listening right now and you're a home-based business, or maybe you're a daycare provider, or you work out of the home, or maybe sometime out of the home, sometime out of the office, whatever the case may be. Think about you getting charged from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's your peak hours. That's going to be your peak time of use charges. I'll tell you what, if they're not out to get more money out of us, I don't know what they're out to do.
Yeah, and you can go on the SDG&E website or whatever your prospective electricity company is, and you could probably find the chart that tells you what the peak hours are and what they're going to be charging. So I encourage you just to go look that up on your own. But speaking for us, we've done solar with a couple companies. We sat with them. Like imagine being a gym that has that hot yoga.
Oh yeah.
When they turn on them humidifiers, it's through the roof electricity rates, and it should only be about.
They call that a surcharge, right? So think about it. When they flip on these fans, or all the electric bikes go on at one time for the spin class in the morning, or like Tony said, the hot yoga, or whatever's going on, they turn on that humidifier, the sauna, right? Anything that's electrical powered, it's a big surcharge, right? It's a big surge that charges from the grid. In other words, drawing all that electricity from your respective power grid, wherever you're located, that local gym or that local company that's trying to tend to their client base and give them a nice environment to ride their bike in, to work out in, to be comfortable maybe in the hot desert. Out in the high desert here, we have the heat temperatures get up into 110, 115. You obviously want your people comfortable when they walk into your office or into your respective gym. You don't want them, having to deal with 110 degree weather. Or in our case, outside our studio right now, it's pouring down rain, right? It's 45, 50 degrees outside. It's not very cold comparatively to a lot of you where you're listening from. I know.
I grew up like Chicago.
Or where you grew up, yeah. What's the temperature there right now?
Well, I don't know what it is at this moment, but I know we've canceled school a lot of times because it was too cold. Yeah. Not because there's too much snow, but because it was too cold. You'd have like a -20 with like a 10 or 15 degree wind chill, so it'd really feel like -35 or something like that.
I know. I was at a wedding this past weekend, right? And I'm out there, and my wife has a big family out in Arizona, and one of her family members actually came down, and she's from Canada, Regina, Canada. Now that's in the Alberta area, right? And now I don't know how much you know of Canada, but that place is cold.
Oh yeah.
She said to us, she's like, "It's nice to be out of the negatives." I said, "Holy cow!" So think about that. Like, we got people all over the country. Obviously, we're lucky here in sunny San Diego. Today is not exactly a sunny day, but normally we're pretty lucky for the weather. But ultimately, yeah, you get these cold weather temperatures. Imagine trying to run a business and your power company's hammering you for making your customers comfortable. Yeah. That's what we're talking about here with this. With not just SDG&E, but electrical grids across the nation are doing this, and all these effects are taking place. So we really want to educate you today. Make sure that you're informed, right?
Yeah, so with that being said, let me explain Superuser to you a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good term.
So basically what happens is you got your 2 tiers.
I feel like putting a cape on.
Yeah, exactly.
Superuser!
Just take off. Yeah, basically you have your 2 tiers now. In 2017, we now have 2 tiers. And anybody that uses quadruple the average for the second tier is going to start getting charged the Superuser. And it's going to be at least 25% above what that top tier is.
Wow,
and
25%. That's ridiculous.
That's a lot of money. So you're going to see some things go through the roof. So
people be getting some very big bills. They'll be
this summer.
This summer
when they're
coming soon to a summer near you.
If you have a pool and we flip on the AC,
oh boy,
you're going to be done this summer. So
good luck.
What we recommend is finding a company that knows solar well enough, and you can get it and you own it. Don't lease it, because that's never a good option. But I'll have Derek talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
You got to really understand the residential side of solar, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the commercial side, and we'll get into some of that. But solar is the answer, and yes, it's for everybody. Whether it's 100 panels or 1 panel, people can do it as long as it's done right. So
yeah,
talk about that.
No, you're absolutely right, Tony, because one of the things you hear a lot, right? We hear out in the field, our company, Increase Clean Energy, your Sustainable Future podcast, separate of that, but we hear this a lot. Our guys, our specialists go out and they hear with homeowners, and somebody has already sat with that homeowner, another organization, another good quality company. There's a lot out there. But they've said that you don't rate solar. You ever heard that before?
I heard it, yep.
You don't rate solar. What does that mean? You don't rate solar. Well, I'll tell you what that means, guys. What that means is that particular company has a base rate that they need to meet in order for you, the homeowner, to qualify. Oh, well,
yep.
What happens if you don't meet their base rate? Oh, you just don't get solar? Well, that's a bunch of bullshit, right, is what that is. That's a flat-out bull honky. The reason I tell you that is because, look, you should qualify for solar if you, the homeowner, decide you want solar. You want solar, you get solar, period.
As long as you can afford to pay for it.
As long as you can afford it and it makes economical sense, which absolutely every company, including our company, would have a logical explanation and a walkthrough process to make sure you understand, number one, why it makes sense. Number two, what benefits there are about why you do solar, why there's a federal tax credit if you qualify. There's all kinds of different perks, and that's just residential.
Yeah.
We get into commercial. Now we're talking a whole nother level of benefit.
Well, I got a little funny story about this. So if you think your bill's not big enough, and I know you remember this.
Oh, yeah.
Ever heard of those tiny house on wheels?
Yeah, I have heard those.
Those are cool. So I had this clientele that were moving from the city out into the middle of nowhere, kind of like at the base of the mountain there, and they got a plot of land. There was no utilities running out there, no running water or anything like that. They had a well dug. They got their tiny house towed out there and dropped off, and then they had us come in and put solar on there with a battery backup. So they're completely off the grid.
They're just living off the grid. Mm-hmm. I remember that. I remember those clients, and that was funny because they literally have a tiny house. Mm-hmm. So their roof is also tiny, right? So very little space for solar.
That's right.
Well, we get up there. We got at least a
2
kilowatt
kW.
and a half or two kilowatt system.
I think it was just under 2 kW. It's
Yeah.
probably like a 1.8.
And still super beneficial for that particular user, that particular situation. They owned it.
Yep.
They get the federal tax credit if they apply for it,
Yeah.
and all those perks that go into residential. But I'll tell you what, we're going to talk more about that in a minute here. With residential, obviously, we're going to continue to elaborate on the benefits there, but also the commercial. Guys, if you are listening right now and you own or know somebody that owns a small commercial building, you need to make sure you share this podcast with them. We'll be right back. Your Sustainable Future podcast. Give us a couple minutes. We'll see you in a few.
All right. This is Tony and Derek with Your Sustainable Future podcast, and welcome back.
Welcome back.
So, yeah, we're still on the topic of residential solar. One of the things we wanted you to understand is, like, yes, you can go small. So if you need to put 2 panels up there just to offset, like, your pump for your pool.
Yeah.
You could do that. Or if you want to just offset your entire electricity bill, it doesn't matter if your bill is $10 or $100, we can do it. There's companies out there that can do it, and you should do it. Everybody should have solar. It's just the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
nowadays.
And we talked about this many, many times, guys. Our company and Your Sustainable Future. Think about this again. We'll reiterate this. We talk about make sure your home is efficient and then put the solar on.
Correct.
Right? So we've
the
talked
icing
about
on
this.
the cake.
It's the icing on the cake. It's the final hoorah to get you away from this big money, big company, big energy coming after your money, right? Make sure you're efficient. Check the windows. Make sure your company's a sustainable company, a company that can qualify your energy efficiency in your home, right?
Oh, yeah.
You talk about, some of the things you've seen before, right? You walk into homes that already have solar on them, but yet you got a 20-year-old HVAC system.
Yeah, a dinosaur unit, or you got those old leaky windows. I was just at a house recently that had the old wooden windows. It's like something you see back east. You don't see it out in California.
Don't see too much of that here, yeah.
But yeah, those things were just letting all kinds of things come in. Everything from spiders to water to air. Like, it was just terrible. So those are the kind of things
Call
you
it
want to do
seeping energy, right? They're just literally seeping energy out of every orifice you could possibly create in a home, which is it's a waste of your money. And this is why we talk about that. We want you to be informed. If you're not efficient before you go solar, you're wasting your money. Yep. Make sure that you take a real hard look at what's coming up. How old's the roof? How many more years you got in that thing?
Yeah.
If it's a 5-year, 6-year roof, you may want to just do it now before you go solar, right? Make it a little energy efficient roof. Out here in California, we have a thing called Title 24. It's a compliance that the state mandated for all roofs to have a level of energy efficiency.
That's right.
A level of energy efficiency and also a level of ventilation, which clearly leads to energy efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Check what else? The insulation, right? How many times
you can do that in the attic and the walls? This stuff is just amazing. And I always tell people this, it's the most bang for your buck.
Clearly.
Because it's low cost, but it makes the biggest difference if you don't already have it done. So we suggest definitely checking on that. And even if it is done and you got this much in there, you don't. You need this much in there.
Yeah.
That's where it should be at, an R38. So those are just some of the things that you can do. We obviously mentioned windows.
Yeah.
Residential is huge. Keep this in mind. Whenever you go solar on residential, you get a 30% federal tax credit.
Yeah, talk about that. 30% federal tax credit. What does that mean? A lot of people think, oh, I'm getting a fat check in the mail. Is that a check in the mail?
No, that's not exactly how it works.
Because I tell you, there's been times when I've walked into a home and I had to break the bad news for those folks that whatever XYZ solar company said that they were getting a check in the mail, somebody lied to them, and that's effed up, man. That's messed up.
What that tax credit is, and you got to understand there's a difference between these things, but all that tax credit is a credit against the liability of taxes that you owe to the government.
Yep.
So if you're a W-2 earner and they have taken a portion of your taxes out, if they took out $30,000, but you have a $10,000 federal tax credit, that means they took out $10,000 too much. They're going to have to give some back. If you're a business owner or working off a 1099, self-employed, something like that, it's probably just going to be a deduction from what you owe to the government because you haven't paid anything yet.
Yep.
So look, we're not CPAs here. We don't do taxes, but we understand it. We understand how it works. So go consult your tax professional. They'll give you the complete breakdown, but just don't get confused. However, it's a very helpful thing, very useful thing.
It is very useful, and I'll tell you what, it should play into your decision on what you do with your home, and obviously the overall efficiency first, and then the size solar system. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you have that conversation, number one, with you and your other decision maker, your spouse, or whoever that may be in the home, but also really analyze your tax liability. And know that this credit is not just a one-time credit. Say it's $10,000 just for an example, right?
Yeah.
$10,000 federal tax credit. And you say you executed the contract right now, 2017, February, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here we are, February 2017. You signed a contract. That means 2017, you are eligible to receive that tax credit.
Correct.
Does that mean you have to take the whole thing?
No, not at all.
Does it mean you even have to take any of it?
Nope.
No. You take whatever you and your CPA or your tax professional need in order to deduct the maximum for your benefit at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. You and your family, whoever you file taxes with, whether you're an individual or a joint filing couple, husband and wife, whatever it may be, just make sure that you guys analyze that. The kicker to this thing too is the education piece, right? The federal tax credit is eligible for as long as it lasts. So that $10,000, right? That $10,000, as long as it lasts, meaning that maybe you only need 1,000 in 17.
1,000 every year.
And then maybe you need 4,000 in 2018, and maybe you need 3,000 in 2019, whatever it may be. As long as you acknowledge, and this is a very key factor, acknowledge the fact that you went renewable energy before 3 years time frame of the day you executed contract.
That's right.
You are eligible to use that tax credit for as long as it lasts, meaning until it runs dry. So if it's 10 Gs, and like you said, you only need $1,000 a year, guess what? You get that bad $1,000 for 10 straight years, if that's how your structure works. So that's a very important thing. And I'll tell you what, I know that you and I know this, and a lot of our energy specialists at the Increased Clean Energy Company, they're very, very educated.
That's right.
But guys out there, I'll tell you, the solar game, and I call it a game because that's kind of what it is. A lot of these other professionals at companies that are very large and some very small, some popping up every day left and right. You guys are seeing different trucks driving down the road.
See them everywhere.
Every roofer now does solar. Every HVAC team now does solar. Every window team now does solar. Now it's just everybody does solar, right? But that's the difference. Everybody might do it, like they might physically install it, but how many of them are going to inform you, educate you, and properly prescribe you the solution you need? Right? Yeah, that's a major factor for residential.
And that's what motivated us to just start this podcast, is to put out as much information and things that come across and educate you guys so you know what you're supposed to do. Because remember, it's the law to pay taxes, but it's your responsibility to pay the least amount.
That's right.
And now you need to know how you could do that legally so you don't get in trouble.
Maximize your opportunity, and that's what we're talking about, your sustainable future. So speaking of that, there's a sweet spot out there.
Oh, yeah. This is good.
And I'll tell you, the sweet spot is if you're listening right now, or you know anybody, period, that owns a business or a building that is zoned commercial. Simply put, in the housing world, it's 5 units and up. If it's a 5-unit apartment building or bigger, you're zoned commercial, in case you didn't know that. Okay? If you're a pet store that owns its own building, if you're a pet hospital, right? If you're a gym, a church, anything storage units, anything that would be considered small commercial. We say small commercial because in the layman's term of solar conversation, it's 50,000 watts and under. Because even small commercial, you could technically own a, let's just use the example, pet hospital or a church. Let's use a church. You could own a small building, a church, maybe a small congregation. Maybe your electric bill is $1,000 or so a month, maybe $2,000 a month.
Yep.
You really only need, a 15 or 20,000 watt system. Yeah, you don't need a $200,000 system that just overkills it. Yeah. You need something that's small and for commercial. And we're also talking about for-profit, right? A lot of churches are nonprofit. So let's talk about a for-profit commercial.
Let's say like a storage unit.
A storage unit, yes. That's a great one.
They got to have security systems running, cameras running, lights in all the units, lights around the property. They have an office that they work out of, so they're probably drawing, and air conditioning for the employees.
Air conditioning, for the employees.
And then I don't know that their fire systems run off of any type of electricity, maybe not, but just keep in mind they're going to have to draw a lot of power. So. And
then we use that example of like gym, like you talked about turning those on the spa and the sauna and the hot yoga and all the bikes in the morning, the gymnasium. Think about that. I mean, that's a big time draw. And it's probably still very small commercial, meaning it's probably still under the demand of 50,000 watts and higher. Here's why we talk about this. If you're a for-profit business, there are so many extra perks with small commercial. Here's one of them. You still get the federal tax credit.
Absolutely.
30%.
30%.
Across the board. Still there, still available for you now, the business owner. However, the business chooses to pay taxes. Whether you're incorporated or not, that's all you and your tax professional. We're not getting into that.
Yeah. Exactly.
But the other kicker is you get an MACRS, Macker's depreciation. It used to be 35%, Tone. Now, guess what it is?
What?
50%.
What? That is some good news right there.
50%. What does that mean, everybody, in layman's term? 50% depreciation deduction spread over a 5-year window that you can take. Now, we're talking California. I don't know the rules outside of California, so I pardon me for not knowing that information, but I'll look it up for you, and you write into the Your Sustainable Future podcast, and we'll get you that information. But we're talking California state right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we know that exists here. We're very, very educated in this space, but 50% is now the Macker's depreciation that they could accumulate over a 5-year window.
So 50% on top of a 30% federal tax credit?
Oh, damn. Do you hear that?
That
That's
sounds like
exactly
80%.
right. Sounds like
Wow.
80%. Doesn't it sound like 80%?
Yeah, it sounds
oh,
like
but wait,
80%.
there's more, like a damn infomercial, right?
But wait, there's
But
more.
wait, there's more. Here's
That's
why.
funny.
There's also an initiative called a performance-based initiative, PBI. Okay? And it's eligible for most commercial buildings. Most commercial owners are eligible for this incentive also,
Wow.
which could be up to an additional 15% more deductibility. So if you did the math, and
That's
correct me if I'm
95% in
wrong,
my book.
95%. Wait, what? 95% deductibility against the cost of your commercial solar system.
Wow.
Now, again, it's not going to be the same exact for every single commercial building,
Of course.
but good God, if it's even close to that. Are you kidding me? How much of a no-brainer is that?
I don't
Right?
know why more people aren't doing it.
Here's why. I'll tell you why. Because they're not educated.
Mm.
Oh, wait, because some other company came in there and they weren't, number one, capable of doing commercial.
That's true.
But they showed up to a commercial solar appointment anyways, but yet they weren't capable of doing commercial. Can't tell you how many times we've heard that. That's about the funniest shit I've ever heard, right? So think about that. You show up, you're a solar company, and you don't do commercial yet. You go to a commercial gym, for instance.
Yeah.
Duh. Right?
Wow.
Okay, yeah, seriously. Scratch your head. Think about that one for a second, listeners. And the other thing is, they don't know what we just rattled off. They don't know that Macker's changed. Because guess what it was in 2014, T?
What was it?
It was 35%.
Now it's
2015, guess what it was? 35%. 2016 became 50%. Woo, baby. That's
good.
a massive, massive benefit.
yeah, absolutely.
And you're talking about, whatever your cost per system is, it's just call it a round number of 150 grand.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about 150 grand, you talk about 50% deductibility. That's a $75,000 savings, folks, if you're spending that kind of money on a commercial solar system.
That's just amazing.
I mean, you talk about no-brainer, guys. If you know somebody, if you're listening now, I can't stress it enough. If you're listening now, you clearly know how educated the Your Sustainable Future podcast, Tony, myself, are about this situation. Make sure they reach out to us.
Absolutely.
Tell them to reach out to us. I don't care where they're at. Santa Barbara, San Francisco, Bakersfield, Fresno. Tell them to call us.
They're in California.
They're in California,
Call us.
and they own a commercial building. Make sure they reach out to the Your Sustainable Future podcast. Make sure they don't miss the opportunity to knock the ball out of the park.
That's
right.
it.
Back in my days, my baseball days,
days.
knock the ball out of the park with a freaking no-brainer, no-nonsense, easy decision to take their company solar and save themselves a shit ton of money.
Thousands and thousands.
That's a viable word, shit ton.
Shit ton.
Shit
yeah.
ton. I think that's a viable word. All right, so talk about the mins and maxes, real quick, and we'll wrap up this episode. I think it was a really good episode where, people are feeling empowered.
Yeah.
It's important to be educated. It's important to be empowered. And if you're a small commercial owner, building owner, you damn well know that you have a high electric bill every month.
Yes, absolutely.
And in our case in San Diego County, that our municipality and our power companies coming after you more than they are anybody else, because you have to have your doors open between 11 and 6. Almost all of you.
It's the law.
It's the law.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, yes, he's right. It is the law. You have to have your doors unlocked in the commercial world if there's residents or if consumers are coming in
Consumer,
between the hours of 9 and or is it 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. or something like that? Anyways, it has to be accessible. Now, clearly that doesn't count for all of you commercial owners, but it does count for people that have traffic in malls and, or retail locations.
Retail front end.
Anyways, we'll get into the details on that. But
with that being said, just some mins and maxes, just so you can check it out.
Yep.
The minimum amount we can put on your roof is 1 panel.
1 panel.
Can't cut the panel in half because then it wouldn't work, but we could do 1 panel. The max that we could put is however much fits up there. If you got a big property, we could do standalone systems. We could do carports, things like that.
Yep.
There's a lot of companies out there that do those sorts of things. You can go find a great one, or you can contact us and we'll help you out.
That's right.
But the sky's the limit. So as many as you can fit up there is as many as you can have. So whatever your need is, make sure the company you're sitting with knows what they're doing. They're not just trying to slap it on there. Make sure that they're sizing it correctly so you're not overspending, but you're not undersized because you don't want to still have a bill.
Yeah, that's right. And same goes for a small commercial. Mm-hmm. Make sure you're efficient. Don't be dumb. Make sure your building is efficient. You can upgrade your windows. You can check your roof. You can upgrade your HVAC system. Make sure you're efficient before you execute a solar contract, right? Because otherwise you're just wasting your money.
Just wasting it away.
Right, wasting it away. Anyways, that is all for today. Your Sustainable Future Podcast. We're out.
See you next time.
See you, folks.